All right, let's get into it. Today, we are talking about the single most important thing for any project out there, the blueprint. We're going to break down all the different types of project requirements, the layers of that blueprint, so you can build a plan that sets you up for success right from the get-go. I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? You're on a project and you just get that sinking feeling. It's starting to go off the rails, nobody's on the same page, and that finish line just seems to get further and further away. It's so frustrating. But what's really going on there? What's the real reason for all that chaos? Well, 9 times out of 10, it comes down to this: a bad blueprint. Or worse, no blueprint at all. Without that clear, detailed plan that everyone agrees on, you're basically just building in the dark. So today, we're going to see how getting this project blueprint right is the key to making sure your project stands tall instead of, falling apart. So what exactly makes a good blueprint? Well, think about a real architect's drawings. They have different layers, right? You've got one for plumbing, one for electrical, another for the structure. A project blueprint is the exact same idea. It's made up of distinct layers of requirements, and every single one is critical. They all build on each other to give you that complete picture. So let's peel them back one by one. It all has to start here. This is the 30,000-foot view. Before you even think about what you're building, you have to absolutely nail down why you're building it. Business requirements are the project's North Star. If you get this wrong, every single decision you make from here on out is going to be pointing in the wrong direction. So for a retail company, the why isn't just build a new website. That's a what. The real business requirement, the thing that actually matters, is something you can measure, like increase sales by 20%. All the other stuff, improving service, making the site better, those are just ways you're going to get to that bigger goal. Okay, once you've got the why, it's time to zoom in on the who. This is where you figure out the specific needs of everyone who has a stake in this thing. And stakeholders aren't just the execs in the boardroom. They're your customers, the support team, the people in finance, basically anyone who's going to be affected. And trust me, ignoring them is a classic recipe for disaster. And this slide is a perfect illustration of how different those needs can be. You've got the marketing team over here saying we need to be able to create promo banners to drive sales. And at the exact same time, the finance team is like, yeah, that's great, but we need a tool to track what you're spending. Both are totally valid, and a good blueprint has to make room for both. Okay, now this is a big one. This distinction between functional and non-functional requirements trips a lot of people up, but it's actually super simple when you think about it this way. Functional is all about the features, what the system actually does. Non-functional is about the quality, how well it does it. Let's dig a little deeper. So functional requirements are your checklist of tangible things. If you're building an e-commerce site, it's stuff like, can a user create an account? Yes. Can they search for a product? Yep. Can they put it in a shopping cart and pay for it securely? Check. These are the nuts and bolts, the detailed schematics of our blueprint. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This is all about the user's experience. I mean, a website can have all the right features in the world, but if it's slow as molasses, not secure, or it's always crashing, nobody's going to use it. These non-functional requirements are what makes sure the experience is actually a good one. And this is where you have to get specific. It's just not good enough to say the site needs to be fast. A good non-functional requirement says something like it needs to handle 10,000 people using it at the same time without slowing down. See the difference? Without that level of detail, your quote-unquote fast website is going to crash and burn on launch day. So you've designed this amazing new system. Great. Now what? You can't just flip a switch and expect everything to work perfectly. That would be chaos. This is where transition requirements come into play. This is the part of the blueprint that plans the actual rollout, from moving over old data to getting your team trained up. I mean, just look at this. You're trying to get from some old, clunky system to a new, shiny one. If you don't have a plan, you're going to have a mess on your hands. A good transition plan covers things like migrating all that old data, and this is a big one, actually training your employees so they know how to use the new tool from day one. And finally, the last layer of our blueprint, the rules. In a lot of industries, there are some very strict legal and industry standards you absolutely have to follow. These aren't suggestions. They're non-negotiable. Think of it as making sure your beautiful new building is up to code. For example, if you build a healthcare app that isn't HIPAA compliant, you don't just have a bad product, you have a massive legal problem. Or if a factory ignores ISO standards, they could lose their biggest contracts. Ignoring these rules isn't just risky, it can end your project, period. Okay, so we've gone through all the layers in theory. Let's see how this actually works in the real world. Let's pretend you're the architect, the business analyst, and you're in charge of building a brand new inventory management system. How do you actually put that blueprint together? Well, you'd start with the business goal. We need to cut costs by 15%. That's your why. Then you talk to the operations manager, your key stakeholder. What does she need? Real-time tracking. Okay, that need leads to a functional requirement. We need barcode scanning, but it has to be fast. Updates in under 2 seconds. That's your non-functional piece. Then you plan the transition, training and data migration, and you make sure the whole thing complies with ISO standards. See how it all connects? It's a perfect chain, from that high-level goal all the way down to the nitty-gritty details. So knowing the layers is one thing, but what does it take to become a master architect? It's not just about the theory, it's about the habits and skills you use to actually bring that blueprint to life. The biggest thing to remember here is that building a blueprint is a team sport. It's not something you do alone in a dark room. You have to build real relationships with your stakeholders to understand what they really need. You have to create crystal clear documentation so everyone's working from the same playbook. And you absolutely have to work hand in hand with your technical and QA teams to make sure what you've designed can actually be built. It's all about communication. So, let's bring it all home. We've taken apart the project blueprint piece by piece, and we've seen how every single layer adds another level of critical clarity. Now you've got a powerful way to think about and structure your own projects. And really, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The time you spend upfront defining, documenting, and getting everyone to agree on these requirements isn't a waste of time. It is the single best investment you can possibly make. A strong foundation is what keeps the whole thing from coming crashing down later on. And that brings me to my last question for you. As you think about your next project, which one of these layers is your biggest worry? Is it nailing down the business goal? Is it really understanding all your stakeholders? Or is it planning that tricky transition? Figuring that out is going to be your key to success. Thanks for tuning in.